Okay, now we are starting our next class. This is Mr. Damian Masterman from South Africa. It is his intention to lecture us on concept of plagiarism and other things. Okay, you can continue, please.
All right. Good evening, class. My name is Damian Masterman, MAPD, CM University. Today, my first presentation will touch on plagiarism in academic studies. I will go over its implications, its ethics, as well as ways that we can prevent plagiarism. Okay, so when we look at plagiarism in the face of it, we can see that, as we all know, plagiarism is the act of academic theft or intellectual theft. It is the act of passing someone else's ideas, work, or theories off as your own, without citing or giving proper reverence or credit to the originator of the ideas and posing these works as your own. Okay, its significance in academia is that it hinders or gets in the way of intellectual integrity. It destroys intellectual humility as well, and it kind of disrespects the originators of these original thoughts or these original ideas or theories. Okay, moving on. So we can go into the technicalities of the term within itself. So the term is an old Roman term that was coined by a poet, Marcus Valerius Martellus, or Martial, if you guys know any romantic poetry. He described plagiaris as the first root word of plagiarism, and he condemned another poet as stealing his work or stealing his sonnets or verses, and thus relegated him as a thief and literally accused him of kidnapping ideas. So this is where the semantics of plagiarism comes from. It comes from theft that originates from the idea of kidnapping or taking hold of someone else's ideas without their permission. Then we can see its evolution in academia. Um, as universities in Europe thus evolve, I wish we could touch on more African scent, but we only have European information available to us. So as universities in Europe developed research and teaching standards, originality thus became essential to providing leadership and scholarship within academia. Intellectual contributions and the importance of crediting sources are the way we keep ourselves intellectually pure and with the way we keep our results inclined with intellectual integrity. The shift in the evolution towards academia was reinforced by the emergence of copyright laws. So in Europe, there was an emergence in the early 1700s of copyright laws, which thus enshrined the rights of the originators of theories, the originators of ideas in the sciences, mathematics, humanities, as well as in the social sciences. So what this did was in the 1700s in Europe, in England, it coined copyright laws in order to give these originators rights and in order to give them recourse for if their ideas should ever be stolen. Then we can move from its evolution in the 1700s to its more contemporary form and see its modern relevance. Well, in today's university settings, plagiarism extends beyond academic misconduct. It touches upon a broader ethical and even legal principle. The rise of the internet also makes plagiarism easier. It allows us to make mistakes that allows us to plagiarize as well, sometimes without our culpability. However, as a student, it is always within our responsibility to make sure that it is not theft, idea theft, or plagiarism in this case. So we can use very contemporary techniques in order to hinder us from plagiarism, such as online plagiarism checkers. We'll get into those later. All right. Let's move on for the sake of brevity. Then we're going to touch on the types of plagiarism. So there's more than one type of plagiarism. Plagiarism can be divulged into various cuts of a pie. We get direct plagiarism, self-plagiarism, mosaic plagiarism as well, paraphrasing, and accidental plagiarism. So we'll start on the last one, accidental plagiarism. It's quite an interesting topic, as the fact that something is accidental would always then make us think, should we be punished if we then do get caught and things are of an accidental nature? I will touch on the other part of this slide soon, but let's first focus on its accidental nature. So the accidental plagiarism is unintentional failure, highlight on unintentional failure, to cite your sources or give proper reference or credit to the originator of the idea. So omitting quotation marks or intentionally not citing sources can both be unintentional plagiarisms. So the consequences of this can be professional, can also be academic as well as legal. Um, when we see the accidental plagiarism, we can still bear the same consequences for accidental plagiarism as we can bear for direct plagiarism, self plagiarism, or mosaic plagiarism as well. Because, as I said in my second slide, it is incumbent on the student's responsibility to do the necessary research to prevent plagiarism in the first place. Okay, now let's get into the other forms of plagiarism. We have direct plagiarism as well, which is verbatim copying or stealing or theft of someone else's ideas and posing it as your own without citations or proper quotation marks. So, for an example, in this case, I said using an entire sentence without from a source without acknowledgement or a quotation. Then self-plagiarism. It's also possible to self-plagiarize. So to plagiarize works that we've already published, so works that we've already disseminated out into the world. It is very possible to, for future research, to not cite our own work. And this can be a common mistake also done, can also be attributed to accidental plagiarism, as where some people would think that they've already cited this work in a previous journal, thus they do not need to cite it again, and it's their work. So sometimes people can see this as their own primary research. However, when we're touching on a new topic and a new part of research, it is always incumbent on the student, as we'll say again, to always show where where the idea that he or she is espousing originates from. Whether this idea originates from themselves in previous research or whether this idea originates from another author. Okay, then we look at mosaic or patchwork plagiarism. So this is interspersing phrases from one source or another into one's writing without proper citation. So this can also, once again, fall under accidental plagiarism, because this is also something that I know a lot of students do. We often take pieces of work and interspace different phrases, and we try to fill our own phrases in so that we can change the semantics of the sentence or of the words that are used. So this is also a form of plagiarism, because this in essence is still stealing ideas. So even though we change the words, the thought concept is the one that is stolen, and the thought concept is the one that we have to provide proof for, right? And this is done through citation. So when we do patchwork, we take pieces of other people's work and try to blend it in with our own work. Very dishonest, and very easily found out using a plagiarism checker as well. Ways that we can get around this often is to use a plagiarism checker ourselves before we do publish, as well as to use translation services in order to change the semantics of the words that we do use. All right. And then our last one, before we move on to the next slide, is paraphrasing without a citation. So paraphrasing another author's ideas without crediting the original source. So paraphrasing is when we take the ideas and we put it into our own words. However, in this case, it would not be the words that would be the issue. It would be the idea that is the issue. So us taking an idea and tailor making it in with our own words and then presenting it as our own idea is the problem. So when we get information from sources, we often look to interslice them with our own. However, when we do this, as we can see, we have to provide proper citation, because even paraphrasing, and I know some of us also during undergrad did a lot of paraphrasing. I did it as well. Did a lot of paraphrasing in my undergrad, but without proper citation at this level, at masters, it will probably get caught out. All right. So one of the ways we can avoid doing this is to use a plagiarism checker before we submit. Then, why does plagiarism occur? Please, class, ignore those 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 numbers there on the side. I have no idea why it keeps coming up. But okay, I cited three of the reasons I found and think, which are the main reasons why plagiarism occurs today. That is pressure and competition. So we know, being in academia ourselves as undergrads now as well as postgrads, we deal with competition for placements and for entry as well as competition in the job market. And our academic results often place us within a particular sphere of a job market. So the pressures of this, as well as societal pressures, as well as pressures from your family, might encourage people to choose the easy route, right? Because plagiarism is generally the easy route, right? Then, number two, oftentimes people choose to plagiarize, to steal ideas, once because of laziness or because of an inadequate skill. So, lacking the skill to conduct your own proper research, or limiting the understanding of paraphrasing, summarizing, and citation skills. So, all of this can result in unintentional plagiarism, accidental plagiarism. However, it's still an offense. So, if we've conducted research incorrectly, if we've written incorrectly, it is incumbent upon the student to find out, to use his supervisors, and to use the relevant resources available to him or to her to add the proper citation, whether that be APA or MLA. All right. Then number three, I think this is also one of the most important ones. It's just the sheer lack of awareness, or sometimes we can call it ignorance. Because being in academia at this level, we all know citing. We wouldn't have got past undergrad without that knowledge. So in this case, it could be called unawareness or simple ignorance. So new or international students may not fully understand academic integrity guidelines, particularly around citing sources or paraphrasing appropriately. Therefore, it's always incumbent on the student to have the appropriate have the appropriate instructions and appropriate paraphrasing guidelines before they do research papers or conducting research studies. All right, let's move on. So, when we commit this academic theft, as everywhere else in life, when we go left, there's always consequences to the right. So, in this case, we have academic consequences that can be brought upon a student. So, severe penalties, such as grade penalties for minor infractions, they can lead to you failing, or they can even lead to you being held back within your studies. In certain various extreme cases, students can face a certain type of academic probation or suspension. I know in my country that's one of the rules. If you're caught cheating, you cannot study in any national institution for the next 8 years. So that's one of the academic consequences that are put on you. Then also, if you do, then moving on to our next topic, legal consequences. So this happens more for if you steal people's work and you publish it and you claim this work to be your own. People are more inclined to produce legal action towards you if you've espoused your name above theirs. All right. So many people work hard to find the primary sources of data and to find and to produce primary research. It could be an intellectual crime to steal these people's resources, these people's researchers, without giving them or their names the proper relevance or reverence. So these consequences can range from copyright infringement, right? So that means that some company or publishing house may strike your work and they may revoke or pull back your publication. It can lead to personal lawsuits towards your academic institution or towards you in your personal private capacity, which in turn can incur fines and financial damages. Then, in the worst case scenario, a individual may also face legal action. Okay, so you as a researcher, you are fully within your rights to actually sue someone, depending in the country and the legal jurisdiction that you are in, if somebody steals your ideas and passes it off as their own primary research. All right, and oh no, okay. The last consequence is thus a personal consequence, that is the loss of credibility for the student or the researcher, and the loss of reputation or reputational damage. So once labeled a plagiarist or a academic thief, an individual may struggle to then, in future, regain trust from his peers in academia or his employers or even the students that he or she is in charge of. And this can affect personal as well as professional relationships. This can also prevent future progression and can also stifle future growth as you seek to move up the ranks in academia, but also in the private sector. Because plagiarism is often seen as a personal blight on your character. So when you do plagiarize, it will often follow you from institution to institution. All right? Um, wait. Yo, I don't know what's going on here.
Yeah, it's not.
Huh?
Go back.
Okay, just go to the next one. Okay, then preventing plagiarism. So, what are the tips that we could use to prevent plagiarism or to make plagiarism harder for us to mistake? So, we can develop a citation and referencing skills. So, this I will touch on in my next presentation. Training in different citation formats such as APA, MLA, or something that we don't really need in this form, Chicago, is essential for clear acknowledgement of the various sources that we have used. Promoting ethical research. So institutions should thus offer workshops, courses on research ethics and responsible writing. So this again speaks to institutions. So how seriously institutions take the role of educating their students and also forcing their students to do the relevant citations and to have the appropriate level of integrity. Then also, we have to encourage time management. One of the things that encourages plagiarism is people leaving work until the last moment, finding out that the work has piled up, and then looking for an easy way to get through the work, trying to find a way around it by stealing other people's ideas and cheating. So, one of the ways that we can prevent this is to adequately plan our time or manage our time. So, effective planning and prioritization can reduce the rush in which we complete work, decreasing the likelihood of resorting to shortcuts such as the aforementioned plagiarism. Then, also, as I have said in the past, and I won't go into too much detail, using the aforementioned plagiarism detection tools that we have spoken of previously, such as Grammarly or Turnitin. Right? Then we're moving on next to a real world case study. So we have a case study for academic plagiarism in like real life. Please allow me to read the case study verbatim, and next I will go on. So, Senator Joe Biden's plagiarism scandal, which notably impacted his 1988 presidential campaign. Biden was found to have used large parts of a speech from a British politician, Neil Kinnock, without proper attribution, along with other instances and uncredited works in various other speeches. This case forced Biden to withdraw from the presidential race and created significant public scrutiny over his credibility and thus called question of his ethics. Reflecting the high standards that political figures are held to in terms of their originality, personality, and their honesty. So, what were the implications for Joe Biden? So, the public was greatly concerned, right? Because he's somebody that had to be voted into political office. Because of this great public concern and fallout, he had to withdraw and he had to acknowledge the severity of his actions. And what this then did, it underscored the importance of public trust in a political figure's image beyond academic contexts. So over time, thus, Joe Biden had to work and go back into the silence and work his way up in order to restore his reputation, in order to maintain his image or manage his impression to the public. As we can see today, it's fairly patched up as he actually managed to become president. So it shows you that reputational damage can actually be overcome if you do the right things and you give the necessary time. What was the institution's response? So in this case, the institution was the public itself, as that's who he was serving. So the response was swift because voters responded at the ballot box as well as criticized him heavily in the media. Voters also made sure that they understood that the breach of trust had been passed and that voters no longer trusted him or wanted him as their representative. All right. And then we look at the conclusion. So, in summary, the purpose of this presentation was thus to highlight the various types of consequences and the prevention methods that can be put in place when it comes to plagiarism in academic studies. We 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 have explored thus the definition, went into detail about its definition and its impact on academic integrity. Also given practical examples, such as the Joe Biden example that we've been through, and provided tips on how we can aim to empower researchers and students to uphold ethical standards within their work. All right, and on the last slide, those are my sources over there. Yeah. Are there any questions?
Can we clap for him, please? Okay, this is question time, Mr. Master Damian, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, can we get to your content? Because we have to ask you question from your content.
Yeah.
Your PowerPoint in the introduction to plagiarism. Okay, let me start with Shaman. Question for him.
So, as you have already mentioned about those preventing of plagiarism, but what except um, what else would you like to remind someone to prevent the plagiarism in academic field?
So basically, what other ways besides the ways that I've mentioned?
Okay, yeah.
One specific way. Well, I have to use that as well. Oh, no, I have my own. One specific way that we can do this. I've mentioned online ways that we can, contemporary ways that we can check for plagiarism, such as Grammarly and Turnitin. But one way that we can use that's more of a physical resource to us as postgrad students is to use our supervisors as well. So you have a supervisor that you can always use, and you can ask him whether the format also of your citations are correct. Because if you use the correct format, you might still get the same penalty as well. So to answer your question, I would refer to my supervisor if I had if my online resources weren't coming up favorably. I would refer to my supervisor.
You can refer to your supervisor to tell you how to avoid plagiarism.
No, I mean like after I've done my online plagiarisms, if I'm still having problems with it, I can ask for further assistance. But the first route that I would then use is to use the contemporary sources to etch out plagiarism.
Is AI plagiarism?
Yes. Yes.
AI assistance? Is
Yes.
it plagiarism?
Yes.
Anybody, any comment? And you are one of engineer, whatever, IT, whatever. Is AI plagiarism? We call it Google G, whatever.
AI. What?
GP.
ChatGPT.
Chat GPT. Okay. Andy, what are you to say? Is it a plagiarism? If you are given an assignment, just ask God. I mean, chat GPT.
T.
Okay.
Is a form of searching out or getting information too. So
is it a plagiarism? That's the point.
it's not unless you copy it verbatim like that.
He's right.
It's not plagiarism. Then what it is? Say, look at what David said.
So
Plagiarism is an act of using someone else's work, ideas, words, data, or other intellectual property without giving proper credit, effectively claiming it as your own. So when you ask
GPT.
ChatGPT, right? When you ask is it or him?
It.
When you ask it to do assignment and it does the assignment for you, how can I mean it's not yours,
Plagiarism.
it's not your idea.
Yes.
It's not your word. It is not your data. It's not your intellectual property. It's the property of chat, GP, whatever.
One thing that I touched
The
on in my
informations the ChatGPT is giving you is from also online and books. So the only thing is just make it faster for you to grab the information. Then you rearrange it and paraphrase it the way you want to do it. Unless if you copy it like that, word to word, and that's when you have a problem.
But otherwise, but the ideas are not.
But, yes.
Look at the definition of plagiarism here. The ideas are not yours. Mike, do you have any? Ideas are not yours. How can you claim that it's not plagiarism?
So for me, I wouldn't say it's plagiarism expressly, except in a certain context, it can be plagiarism. And the context that it can be plagiarism is that when you search ChatGPT and you copy that stuff that you searched and use it, claim it as your own, that is when it's plagiarism. But when you are using ChatGPT as an information platform to source for information, yeah, like you like maybe say you are studying, you are reading, you want to read because you have to do your literature review and you have to read wild. You're using ChatGPT to search for information. I don't really think it's plagiarism because you are searching for is a source of information.
But
Yeah,
According to academia, plagiarism is act. The word there is act.
when you commit the act, when you copy
The act
and
of
use it
using
as your
someone
own.
else's work,
Yeah.
ideas, data, or other intellectual property without giving proper credit, effectively claiming it is
Your own. But when I search and I don't copy, it's not plagiarism because I'm just using it
For
as
example, I want the effect of drug. Then ask GP, GCT.
effect of
Tell
drug.
me the effect of drug. I put everything there for you.
I read
Then you
the,
now copy, just carry it and then rewrite.
that is plagiarism.
And then you now rewrite everything.
When I go to ChatGPT and it gives me the information I need and I read the information and in my own way I put my own words, not what is in the ChatGPT. It's not plagiarism because I got information.
You have a different argument here, which means you get something from chat GP, whatever.
Yeah, AI.
And then you automatically rewrote everything. Is that what I'm saying? Or you still have part of it?
Yeah, like that's information you
still have part
got.
of the thing you got from. Let me. Do you still have part of that thing you got from there? What
No.
the ideas you got from there, or just your new idea?
So the ideas and is there really anything like new ideas? I think ideas are developed from something. When I can develop idea.
But if you develop for them, you would have gotten it by yourself, but you want to ask somebody. In academic setting, we're talking about academic.
Yeah.
So in academic setting, you got it from somewhere, and it's supposed to be an idea from you. You didn't sit down to reflect over it. You just ask
ChatGPT.
ChatGPT, and then it gave you the thing. Automatically, it's not your idea.
It's not my idea. Yes,
Uh-huh.
it's just a piece of
So
information.
plagiarism is taking an idea of someone else and making it your own without referencing to Chat GPT. Academically.
Okay, so if I take that information and I reference the person who wrote that particular information, it is not
It's not
plagiarism.
Because the problem is, so who are you referencing when when you must have asked Chat GPT? Who are you referencing? Are you referencing to it? Or referencing to, what is the reference in Chat GPT? Who are you referencing? Who are you citing? When you must have asked and it gave you all the information.
It gave me the information, and I use I rewrite the information in my own way, in my own word. I don't think it's plagiarism.
I think I don't have a problem when you say rewrite.
Yeah.
Because just for me, it's almost like
Google, yes,
the book.
Yeah, that is my own idea of.
Ask it online, or when I take it as a book, don't know the same thing.
Yeah.
So I don't have a problem when you say you rewrite, but the question is after writing it, do you put it as you quoted the book, and then the person, the year, blah 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 blah, or not?
Is sir asking like if you let's say you use ChatGPT, then do you cite ChatGPT, give ChatGPT the credit? Is that what you're asking?
That's what I'm saying.
Okay.
That's what the academic
Yes.
academic writing will require from us. Because you wrote a book,
Yes.
Mr. Daniel, and I read your book exactly what ChatGPT would give. But then who did you cite and quote?
So in this case, because we understand AI model, so AI graphs the internet and pulls information from the internet. So we could ask ChatGPT, what is
Where-
your resources? And ChatGPT,
Yeah, it can do
ChatGPT
that.
will give you its
I think it can do
resources.
that, yeah.
Then you can add that to your citation, maybe.
Maybe I will agree with that. It provides just the same thing with the book.
Book.
If you got an idea, this person got his own idea, and you read the idea, and then you used it in your own analysis.
Yeah.
You use the word rewriting. Okay, whether GTP or whatever, you rewrote the entire thing. But my question is, in terms of academic, don't forget we're talking about academic.
We're going to get there, sir.
Academic process. Who do you quote or who do you cite in terms of ChatGPT?
Yeah, I'll ask ChatGPT.
Okay, he will give you
Yes, then I'll quote
Does
the
he
person.
do it like that?
Yes,
Yes.
it does.
Huh?
It doesn't.
It absolutely
It
does.
does.
It absolutely
It
does.
does.
No, 4.0 does.
Okay.
No.
When you go online and search,
You can see if it's a fake
that book,
citation because it doesn't.
you will not see that book.
It
will give you a fake name.
Sir,
Because we're talking about academic writing. We're not talking about something.
But the thing is, this is why you cite
There is
it.
a one that will give you the exact book, but not ChatGPT. The other one's better than ChatGPT.
But sir, also,
Which one? The one that AI or what?
No, don't worry.
sir, but you sir, but in essence, you're a researcher. In essence, you're a researcher. So this is part of your research. So when you ask ChatGPT and ChatGPT cites or gives you a quote of something that's fictitious, it's your responsibility to go make sure if it matches your work, and then you would know. It's very easy.
But then, if it gives you the fake citation, because if as some of us are mentioning, if you go and check, it doesn't rhyme with what is.
But then you can copy that and you can search.
If you copy and put there, it is still plagiarism. Because
No. Listen. You can Google that citation, and you can get the actual part of the work.
Then you put it in grammar, which means we're not talking about ChatGPT.
But sir,
Yeah, but then the grammar here is just, I think the way they formulated it
Sir,
is better than, because
if
it can
ChatGPT
correct so many things and give you things exactly what they are saying.
Sometimes when it's correct,
Mm.
when you use its own words and refresh it again, it will tell you that that's its own words generated.
Yeah, but that's not the issue. The issue now is that the grammar will automatically give you citation. Most times, in my own view, I think they are correct. But ChatGPT, we have not it has not given us that kind of situation.
Sir, but what I'm saying is that you would ask it for a reference. It would give you a source. Now let's say the source is fictitious, right? Then you research the source. So you have the source over there. You can punch it into Google and see whether this actually exists.
But some people have tried, they say it doesn't exist.
And then you can't use it. Then why would you add
Then you
it?
can't use it, right?
Then it's not a source.
Yeah,
anymore.
that is the point. What are we talking
Yes.
about?
Then you have to look somewhere else.
Yeah. What are we talking about? We can't use it, and you can't use it. You can't use it because using it is criminality.
This is the implication that it gives you.
Plagiarism.
This is only based on the implication that it gives you false sources.
Of course, yeah, he has been doing that.
I don't think so because I've done many research through ChatGPT.
A friend of mine have told me that. I mean, a friend of mine told me something like that.
No, it does
Then
do it.
some students are confirming
It does do it, but that's why you have to do due diligence. You have to check. You can't just copy and paste from ChatGPT.
So why the essence of all this game? Why can't someone go and read and then do things on his own? Huh? Correct. I'm not against that, but the point is that when you bring it and claim like against this definition, because this your definition is the almost perfect one, without giving a proper credit. In my own view, I don't have problem with ChatGPT, but I have problem when you copy exactly what is there, or
Yes.
even when you rewrite it.
Paraphrase.
As you are writing it, you could not even demonstrate the academic analysis in it.
Basically copy paste, but with other words.
Uh-huh.
Oh.
Just like we did during the academic presentation, I think Saif had a very nice and wonderful submission on that. He tried to link it at the modern day of reality that we have to face, like we have been facing other realities in the world. Yes, but the fact remains that we have to accept the fact that it's very dangerous in our mental construct. Unless if we keep moving at a stage, we don't need the word. I think it's a good development because the world has been moving like that. But the point is that now that we are facing it, maybe those who started this academic stuff, they never thought about something like this. So maybe they have to, how would I put it, update. Yeah, they have to update the regulation because whether you like it or not, what's the effect of being what's that's your topic?
Sorry?
What's their topic? Your topic?
Plagiarism.
No, I mean your AI independent study topic title.
The role of proximity in cross-border conflict.
So just type it there. Then it will give you almost everything. And then you go and submit.
Done.
Is that education? So it's a new common reality that is facing us as an academic or academicians or professors. I'm afraid that the universities or education institutions must find a solution to that because that is plagiarism.
So they have to adapt somehow.
Yeah. But we have to adapt. How do we adapt? For example, in my own class, definitely I may not have any exam other than written exam in all my subjects. What's the essence of doing that when I know you go and copy from the page and submit? Because as a teacher, I still have a responsibility to make sure my students are going in line the way it should be.
Yes.
Okay, you wanted to ask a question about Chat GPT. Is that the one that you wrote to your IS for you?
I can my GT. No, isn't GT if you're chat, whatever they're saying. No, isn't it? I've forgotten about my question.
Thank you, because your questions are always important.
Maybe when I remember.
Okay, so what have you to say, Henry, about his plagiarism presentation?
I should ask him a question.
Yes?
Okay, what are the consequences of plagiarism?
Consequences, we can range consequences in academic, we can range it in private, so in our company, in our business, in our institution, and it can even vary as branch out into legal consequences. So certain institutions take plagiarism seriously, more seriously than others. During my presentation, I made the example of in my country, if you are caught in university, postgrad or undergrad, plagiarizing, you get banned or suspended, I'm not sure the correct word, for 8 years, right? So that means you can't enter another national institution within the entire country. Also, the consequences of plagiarism can follow you around, so it can follow you from your academic institution into your professional institution. The consequences of plagiarism, I produced a. Can I go to the case study? I have a case study. So the consequences of academic plagiarism also, I found this little case study on Joe Biden where he stole his presidential election speech in 1998 from a British politician named Neil Kinnock. So one thing that this showed was that the public fallout was that he couldn't run for president anymore because he lost public trust. So public sentiment turned against him and his reputation was hampered. However, I also touched on reputation can be mended in the future, but it requires a lot of time and effort. As we see, he did become president. But in 1998, the repercussion of his plagiarism was that he had to pull out of the race for his presidential election. So it shows not only academic consequences, but very real legal consequences as well.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Did I answer the question? Thanks, Henry.
Okay, so, Sheikha. Oh, now, the question about plagiarism.
Okay. My question is about the laws and article. So
Sorry?
laws and its article. some research need to put articles and laws for as a references for the fact in the research paper. So I have some difficulties with laws and article because we need to paraphrase when we copy from the some things. We need to put the citations and the paraphrase. So
Sorry, I'm not hearing you like totally. Sorry. Can you speak a bit louder? Sorry.
okay. So it's about the law and article.
Like what?
Law and
Uh-huh.
it articles.
Okay.
So like for example, I want to put some laws and article in my research paper. So according to the rules, we need to paraphrase when we copy from the some things, paraphrase and need to put the citations. But in law, and it has a specific word intentionally they put because it is a law. So in that situations, should we paraphrase or should we copy exactly for the law article?
To be honest, I don't know. I only researched the social sciences. I never researched into
The
law.
law article.
Yes.
I'm not sure.
Yes, you can. The law article, don't forget, plagiarism is just claiming what somebody has written as your own. But if you are putting, let's say, a law article, yes, it is correct to put it there, but you have to cite it. Now you have to say where you got it from.
So would it be the same?
I don't know if I get it. You're talking about law.
Yes.
Very, very important because you cannot change any word over it. But then the issue is that you put it there, but you put the citation, which law, which constitution, which country, which year.
So just all
So-
citations is okay. We don't need to paraphrase.
You can, up to you to paraphrase, but you can still put the fact that it is you got it from somewhere because you're not.
Can we paraphrase in law? Can we paraphrase in
No,
law?
I understand what he's trying to. No, I understand what she's trying to say. You may get certain regulations that this is a law. Yeah, you cannot touch it. But then, in analyzing his or her paper, you have said exactly what the law said, but you didn't directly say it exactly at the way it is in the paper. That's exactly what we talk about analysis in all our academic paper. So in that situation, if that is what you're actually asking, the most important, even if you every law, you can explain every law on your own. But then, remember when you get to the main specific, the law, the word itself, you cannot touch it. It is the way it is. But there is no paper in this world that the academic paper, you just start putting law like that. You made an analysis before you quoted the law, right? You made your first premise, you made your second premise, and then you are alluding and directing your paper towards somewhere. So all those analyses, whatever you are doing, they are all your own words. But then, in a particular situation in which you are trying to interpret a particular law,
Trying to interpret the law.
yes, trying to interpret it, your understanding of it in your paper, you can still put citation of the law if you don't want to put the direct quotation. But in terms of the law itself, you cannot change it. I think it is something applicable, not just law, even the book of somebody. If you are trying to analyze somebody, you are free to analyze it using your own words. But then, when you now want to go into what the person has said, you cannot change any word there.
Yes.
It's not only about law. That is direct quotation. And direct quotation is that this belongs to this person. It doesn't belong to you. Whether it's a law book or whether it's not, or whether it's a simple academic book, or whether it's even a thesis or independent study, you are quoting somebody. You cannot touch anything there. That is why they say invited, comma, open and close. If there's anything you want to say, you can make mention of that. You can analyze it. You can say whatever you want to say. But the exact thing that the person said, exact the way it is in the book, you cannot touch it. Whether it's a law or whatever.
So let's say the law is that you shall not steal or something like that.
Yeah, it says
And
you
then-
cannot stay. Then the parenthesis. Remember, in one of my presentation about plagiarism, whenever you use three words, it's already a plagiarism. I don't know if you guys understand that word. You say, you shall not steal.
Yes.
You, shall, not is already for. So it's supposed to be in parentheses, according to academic research. It's supposed to be you are quoting a Bible. You're supposed to cite it there. The same is applicable to any book. So there are plagiarism, in order to avoid it, once you use 3 words steadily from someone, then you're supposed to at least be fair enough to put it in parentheses, open and close, as they said.
That means the person that related the words, that person has to reference the person that related that word.
Yeah, if you go to grammar, you carry it as actually as a plagiarism. You go to turn it will carry it as a plagiarism. So that is why sometimes even yeah, that is an academic. That is the problem. It's not the problem. Yeah.
Assuming this guy said he is good, you shall not steal. Him that said it, somebody abuses the word before, steal before. He's meant to reference the other person. This person will reference this person.
But just understand that it's an academic process. It's nothing. It has nothing to do with every other thing. It's an academic process, and it is intended towards not encouraging students to copy someone. That is the intention. So plagiarism, as I was taught, once you are using word that is trade, is already trade. You have to. It shall not be. It might be okay with that. There are common English, but just know that in the context of teaching the research process, it is you are not allowed. You will not be told. You will not be encouraged to use that word when you know it's coming from someone. But of course, we are using English on daily basis. I am coming now. Yeah. What if somebody says, somebody is saying, I'm coming now. Another person says, I'm coming now. I will go there tomorrow. Another person will. Of course, these are common usage of English. But then don't twist the fact that we are warning for plagiarism. Yes. So that you now, I don't know, is instructive. Let me use the word. Is instructive. And then the only thing is to avoid it as much as possible.
What do you mean it's instructive? What?
When we talk about plagiarism in an academic class, you are being instructed, you are being directed to avoid so and so thing. But it doesn't mean that when you work, English is English. Is English what? It's possible that somebody, English that this person used, I might use it, another, this person might use it in a sentence even.
Yes.
Yeah, but sometimes the main thing is that you are being told about plagiarism to be aware that this is not, once you are using a word used by another person, it's threat, then you should do something about it. But don't forget that most people, in my own view, the people they meant here are scholars, mostly from their books, mostly from their journal, and mostly from other things they have put across. So, plagiarism, as I was taught, and I believe in it, once you are using someone's word and it's up to 3, then just be cautious. You may be lucky, it may not come out, but just be aware that you should be conscious of that.
So when you quote the law, in other words, 4 words that like you shall not steal. Would you like
in my own view, the problem you guys are having here is that thinking that academic writing is yours, without thinking that the more you quote, the more it's an academic writing, and the more it is credible. That is the problem most students do get. Are you understanding what I mean?
The more I write.
The more you write, and the more you quote and cite, and the more you try to let the person reading to you that you did the research, that you shall not kill, you quote where it is, even though you know it's a normal something that many people can use. Yes. So the concept of understanding academic research is where we're having problem now. Because academic research is that a paper that when you are writing something you are trying to prove that this is research. Remember the argument the last class, Henry asked about why research or whatever. It is already there, but you're trying to replicate, you're trying to provide again. You're trying to give us something that is already there, but you're trying to add something to it, and that is the gap Sheikh was talking about the other day.
Yes.
But then you have to have an academic research attitude. And what is an academic research attitude? It's possible that all of us here might be using the same English in the same way. But then when you are now sitting as if you are writing an academic paper, what makes it an academic paper, what makes it credible, is that you are quoting someone, you are citing, you are showcasing that this is just a research. People have said something before, and now you are quoting what they said. So the argument of whether simple language, that you are making it to weaken your paper. Because the more you see where it is said, you will even be very, very happy to always put inverted comma, whether it's a short one, to just showcase that your paper is credible. I'm not sure you guys are getting the point. Chairman, are you getting it? Henry, are you sure you are? What are you getting? That one is understandable, but we are talking about simple one that just as you said. What if somebody? But that's not the context I was saying. I'm talking that even though it's a common, normal language, that the attitude of academic paper should be in you and should
Yes.
be in me to demonstrate the exact question you asked last class. Because you have to understand what is academic paper. You have to understand your academic research paper. It's all about trying to show that even though you are doing this, people have done it before. Look at what they said. Look at what they did. Then you now went further to provide the gap where they did not feel. So when you in your academic paper, people are reading it. Those in academic world are reading it. Interest. If it is your own paper that they don't put anything, then it's very boring. It's no longer an academic. In my own view, what makes it an academic? Those things you guys are arguing now, running away from. That's what I'm trying to draw yourself back to it. Now, what makes it credible is those things that you think is a common English. Yes, it's a common English, but it has been used, and then you try to cite it, you try to use it to back up your argument. You're using it to back up your analysis. Even though it's a common, everybody can use it. And that what makes your paper credible and reliable.
So that citation is almost like a fact that you're using.
Exactly. That is why it's a research. Because you're not doing, remember, don't forget the argument last week, Mr. Henry. Because you're not doing something new. It is believed that someone did something. Then how can you now write the entire paper without more quotations and more citations? I mean, I don't know whether you guys are.
Yes, I understand.
Mike, are you grasping what I'm saying? Chika, huh? Are you sure you got it? How about you, Mr. Celestine? Any comment? So that is the area that I want us to be aware of. So please, I understand when we confuse academic writing with other. I did it for many years, and I know very well that it was very hard for me to believe what I'm saying now. But along the line, along the line, I just have to do the mental academic surgery. But you talk about mental surgery. This one is an academic surgery to understand that academic paper means that you should even be looking for, even if it's 2 words that you can say you have quoted from someone. Otherwise, it's no longer an academic. That is why it's no longer a research. Okay. What's the next part of? I mean, we started from the beginning. Different kinds of plagiarism. We have been talking about it. So any other, but say it's a direct plagiarism. Hello, guys. So can you explain this again?
Okay, so as we've been speaking about in my presentation, I touched a lot on accidental plagiarism. It starts from the top. Direct plagiarism is when we take a piece of work verbatim from somebody else, or from ChatGPT, and we put it into our own words without any citations, and we just keep quiet about it. We don't mention anything, and we're trying to inadvertently pass it off as our own work.
So direct plagiarism is just you copied it directly, but never quoted it, never cited it, never referenced it. Go back to what I said again. Academic paper becomes an academic paper, in my view, when there is quotation, when there is citation, when there is reference. It's not all about writing the best of paper and then without referencing anybody, citing anybody, quoting anybody. That one, do you know what that one is called? Is a newspaper columnist or columnist. Yes. That's what you guys are confusing with or magazine columnist. You have to differentiate, understand what's academic paper. Academic paper. Are you getting code again? Academic paper is all about seeking to demonstrate. You are seeking to demonstrate that you found a new knowledge from away from what other people have found. Are you guys there? You are seeking to show people that you have actually found a new gap. You have filled a gap. And at the same time, people have done it, but they forgot it. So how can you now submit such a paper without quotation and without reference and without citation? Okay.
Next, we speak of self-plagiarism. So self-plagiarism is when we use our own previous work, such as like if we had been published in the past, and so today we have a new research topic, and like okay, our previous work is relevant to today's work, and we go about to use our own old research findings and we post it in our new contemporary paper without giving valid gradation to publisher, which is ourselves or our supervisor.
Okay, see, self-plagiarism. Do you know what that means? Apart from what you said, who can tell us what it means? He has explained it, but who can explain further?
I can explain it again.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so to create a scenario, if we already conducted research and published this research, and today we present it with a new topic, and our decision is to use of our old work, our old publishments, and to put it into our contemporary work. This is self-plagiarism, unless we cite that we actually got it from our own previous work. We show that our own previous work is the foundation of this knowledge, or whether we have the permission from our supervisor or our academic institution. So it's stealing from yourself.
Okay, I have an example about that. I said it earlier. I wrote my dissertation for PhD in Assumption University is the environmental values on Igbo spirituality. Environmental values on Igbo spirituality was my title in PhD I submitted in Assumption University. Then in CM University, when I was doing this MA-PhD program, I wrote my independent studies on the concept of peace in Igbo spirituality. How did I put it? I hope I'm getting it. The spiritual concept of peace in Igbo spirituality. Correct, yeah. Something like that. The concept of peace in Igbo spirituality. Then we were using Turnitin as at that time. That was 4 years ago, 5 years ago. Then what happened? In this particular context, I wrote everything, and everything I wrote was mine. Hello, are you guys there? But then, when I put what I wrote down, it came back as plagiarism. When I submitted my thesis in master's degree in peace studies and diplomacy, it showed that I plagiarized myself, but I did not. I was just on my desk writing everything the way I used to write in my own words. But then he came back to me as plagiarism. Then I wanted to know where I plagiarized. I found that it showed that I plagiarized in Assumption University. Then I went further to check who did I plagiarize. I found that I plagiarized myself. You understand that? Self-plagiarism, copying your own work, what you did by yourself, which means I supposed to have quoted myself. But because the same me, I use the same manner of writing, the same English, because I didn't add up. This is not England. In fact, of course, my English has been so bad, so to say. So, but the point is that everybody has got his or her own way of constructing English. So, because I have the same way, I didn't change it. I used it in this program. I just sat down and pouring my idea. It came back as plagiarism because the same way I poured it down when I was submitting my dissertation. And then, luckily for me, it was myself because I wanted to know who is that person. Then it was myself. So that is self-plagiarism. The idea I used in a paper I submitted in another university, I used the same idea in another university. So it came out as plagiarism because I did not quote myself. I don't know if you guys are, Randy, are you getting the point? Chika, is that? So by the time you finish this paper now, how was that? What is that your wonderful topic? Transiting.
Transitioning from academia
Transition.
context.
Well, by the time you finish it now, and you want to enter PhD, if you're not careful, if it's written by you, you might even find, I mean, by that I don't know the plagiarism dictator that would be used. Then you might find out that you are plagiarizing yourself because the same way you used to write it, the same passion you used it to write in your PhD. So at the end of the day, because this one has been submitted online, then the whole thing will come again. And you may be shocked because you never consulted yourself. You are just writing the same way. Maybe English has not been improved in a different way. Maybe because we are still in Thailand.
How do you now correct that? What do you do when you discover?
The what I did that I asked someone else to write it for me and give it to me.
What?
I asked someone to rewrite. Yeah. No, sorry, to paraphrase it for me. Just like giving you my chapter one to tell you, please, can you rewrite this thing for me?
But now, what's the difference between you doing that and like if you asking ChatGPT to do that?
Let them not get confused about the. That's the point. You can also, that's the point. That's academic. You can reference. That is the mistake. I'm reporting a mistake here. I'm not reporting something good because I suppose I quoted myself. But the problem again with self-plagiarism is that how do you know, even when you didn't look at their their past work, but because of your way of constructing English, it has not improved. It has not changed. You wrote in the same way you described the other because of you, Damian, because of me. Everybody has got his own style of writing. So if I have the same, and I'm talking of the same topic, I'm trying to direct. Remember, the first one was environmental values on Igbo spirituality. Then this one is the peace, concept of peace in Igbo spirituality. You see, I'm in the same place. So it's possible that I will be reasoning in the same way and I will be making a construction in the same way. So it's possible that put it there, plagiarism will bring it out. I did not even consult my past work, but because it's the same me producing the same thing, I may have used almost the same pattern of writing. So the system.
The same writing style.
Exactly, writing style. So you now found that the plagiarism. Otherwise, if I had known, I would have used that idea I'm trying to describe again. I would have used direct quotation.
Cited.
Cited Mr. Okafor. Okafor, 2020, 2011 page. Then the problem will be solved.
So now when you ask like you said you give your work to someone else to paraphrase. And now you put in ChatGPT. So you can just ask ChatGPT to paraphrase. What's the difference?
Then there was no ChatGPT.
No, but I mean like if today, what's the difference?
Don't forget.
If I was faced with that problem today, should I have done what you did, like ask somebody, or should I just go on my computer and
I think that is today. You are talking about today because
Yes,
things
yes.
are changing.
Like,
So it's
really
possible, but don't forget, I have finished my work. Now having problem of my construction. Don't forget, we have proofreaders in an academic work, whether it's chat GPT or what. As a matter of fact, when you finish your work, you're supposed to give it a proofreader, and they proofread, they write in a better way, provided it's the same idea that you have. They are not writing it for you. In an academic, once you have finished writing, you're supposed to send it to proofreader, whether it's chat GTP or whatever, because chat GTP cannot change your word. It can only help you to put the better grammar or construction, but cannot change your idea. That's why you said plagiarism. I was mentioning it when we were talking about plagiarism, using someone's idea as your own. So when you now finish your own and submit to somewhere else, or whether Grammarly, or whether Turnitin, or whether any other software, whatever they use to correct whatever, the main thing is that you have finished this work, is that you are now looking for better English. That's what we call proofreading in an academic work. So in this kind of situation, how did I solve it? I don't think I solved it in the right way, but the most important thing, I just ask someone, please, because if I write it again, I will repeat the sentence because it's the same style of writing. But I didn't want to go to spend money, because the best thing is to send it to proofreader, because nobody proofreads without payment. So because someone wanted to assist me, so I said, what would be the best way we can get this thing done? But don't forget, it's not the entire work. It might be some specific areas, maybe a paragraph, or maybe it's a page or whatever. That doesn't mean the person is rewriting for me. But I have to cry for the person. Please assist me for this. I don't have a best way to change it. Because if I submitted my paper in assumption in 2008, okay. If I relocated and went to America and stayed in America and write another paper, believe it or not, the style of writing will change. Yes.
Like if you went to live in America.
Yeah, and then it will change, or even in UK, or even in Europe, it will change. But because we are still in this Thai area, don't you look at myself? Oh, my English is so bad. It's not improving. So that is it.
The longer you hear, you lose it.
Of course. Okay, so what will be the next question? Nothing. Any other question for plagiarism? So those who are around, you can see that we have rounded up the class. And then, any other question for him? Any other question for him? Okay, so don't mind me. What do I know about this thing? I'm just managing. Okay, so thank you very much. Please, can we give him a round of applause for his presentation? So thank you very much, guys, for attending this class. And I believe that you are learning, and I believe that we put it in practice in an academic world. And most importantly, thank you, Mr. Master Man, for your presentation. So we'll be on break a little bit, but do we continue?
No, I don't think so.